Here we go. Wesley Fofana completes his move to Chelsea Football Club, of course, pending a medical. The tweet from Fabrizio Romano confirms the news that was broke late last night by our MC Sport. And of course, the brilliant journalist is Fabrice Hawkins, who spoke about the verbal agreement between Chelsea and Leicester. Both clubs have reached an agreement around a record sum for the 21-year-old. The here we go is now confirmed. Chelsea have one of their main targets of the summer to go and play in their defensive back line. Nigh on £80 million is going to be the transfer fee. You'll see reports range from 75 to 80, but either way, it's a huge investment. It's massive, massive, massive backing of the manager, Thomas Tuchel. But I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Smash that like and that share button. Aubameyang next. Wesley Fofana to Chelsea. Here we go. Documents are almost ready, and Leicester and Chelsea reach an agreement on a fee on Friday. Confirmed. The Fabrizio Romano's words this morning in relation to this deal. Now, we all saw this coming. We all knew this was coming. We all knew this was on the horizon. It'd been spoken about for a long time. It's a deal that I think most people felt would come to a conclusion soon. With the teams playing today, with Fofana being reduced to playing with the reserves or the under 23s, whatever they're called nowadays, not being in the starting lineup, something had to happen. Leicester were just essentially keeping this situation alive. They were keeping it trundling along for as long as they possibly could to be able to get as much money out of this situation as possible. Now, Leicester will probably push the news that it's a world record fee. That's got to be, I think, £78 million makes it the world record fee, according to sort of the sources in the journalistic world right now. Chelsea will probably say it's around 75, 76, and you might find some sources say it's even higher. It doesn't really matter whether it's the world record fee or a record. It's Chelsea's record fee. They have never paid this much for a defender. I believe this is the most expensive player in Chelsea Football Club's history, and it takes their spending currently to somewhere in the region of £260 million this summer. The Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang deal will come on to a little bit later. They're still looking to push through between 15 to 20 million, around 280. And of course, they are still working hard on Anthony Gordon, which is a further £60 million. That could take the spending up to 340 million. Now, the reason I bring this up isn't because I'm digging out at Chelsea, not saying they spend too much money. I'm suggesting that people felt that Chelsea were going to fall away, that Chelsea Football Club were going to capitulate after Roman Abramovich, stop spending money, become a shadow of them for themselves. And I never truly felt that that was the case or that that was going to happen in any way, shape or form. So I think that that's why Chelsea fans should be shouting from the rafters about how much they've spent, because the fear when Roman left is that the spending would dry up, the power would go, the pull would go. And although there's probably been some mistakes from Todd B over the course of this summer, maybe some of the public ways that he's negotiated, telling journalists a little bit too much information ahead of time, has left a little bit of egg on the faces of Chelsea. I know Chelsea fans wanted a brand new DM. They wanted a new midfielder, and that isn't the area the club has prioritized. But I do think Chelsea supporters need to get behind Thomas Tuchel. They need to support his talent ID. They need to support his ideas. Available managers in the world better than Thomas Tuchel? None. You could probably, some might argue he's Zinedine Zidane, but he doesn't want to come and live in England. So he's a non-starter. It doesn't matter if he's better if he isn't going to come here. You know, and of available managers that are attainable for Chelsea, I don't think there's anybody better in the world currently coaching, currently active and willing to be in the Premier League, willing to live in the UK. And I think that Chelsea fans have to get behind their manager now and say, right, let's make this work. Let's get these signings cooking. We're going to predominantly see a back three, you know, Silva, Koulibaly, Fofana. Absolutely sensational. You then get Reece James playing more regularly in his right wing-back position, Cucurella on the other side. That is a very strong and very capable defensive line. Are Chelsea the finished article? No, and they won't be by the end of this window. This is a rebuild. whether people like to hear it or not. This is a new ownership, a new regime with new ideas that wants to put their mark on Chelsea, that wants to allow this manager to build a team within his own image and go to that next level. And I think that's been kind of ignored by some people, which is a little bit unfortunate. It's going to take a couple of summers for them to bring in all the players, the personnel, the profiles to get Chelsea to where they want. So what next is the big question. And what next? Anthony Gordon, that deal trundles on. The club is still pushing. The club is still fighting. And Everton are doing essentially what Leicester are doing. They're trying to scrape every single penny they can out of Chelsea Football Club. You then have the situation with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Reports last night for the second time in the week that Manchester United are keeping an eye on the situation. The potential move is halted, according to some of the journalists out there. And what they've said, I want to make sure I read this right because I don't want to get this wrong. It says that Pierre-Emerick's potential move to Chelsea has been halted after the Blues refused to sanction a 2-year deal for the 33-year-old. And what's intriguing about that news is that personal terms have been agreed in terms of salary, but they're now essentially Chelsea want to do what I've been told is Chelsea want to do a 1-year deal with an option for 2, where Aubameyang wants a 2-year deal straight outright. Now, Chelsea don't want to do that because he's only a makeshift player. He's only it might only be 1 year they want him for. You could find that Broja goes to another level and they have the chance to sign Christopher Nkunku next summer. And they think, well, between Broja and Nkunku, they're going to be our main strikers, main attackers when we only play with one striker. I know that Nkunku's a support striker, but you get my point. That's who we want to go with. And they might not want to renew a big contract for another year for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. They want the option to get out. So that's kind of put Chelsea in a bit of a situation they didn't expect to be in. They've essentially agreed the fee with Barcelona. The player's happy with the wages, but it's now the structure of the deal that's now taken a turn. There seems to have been a miscommunication, or there seems to have been a problem, according to the outlets here. Now, Man United is said to be circling. Man United is said to be looking at that situation. United may need a central striker. We would probably give him that 2-year deal. I'm in the mind that Chelsea are doing the absolute right thing by looking at this from the point of view of, I think that looking at this from the point of view of, you want to buy someone more long term next summer, maybe. The reports coming out of Spain do state, though, that Aubameyang prefers Chelsea over Manchester United, and a lot of that is to do with the Champions League football. However, if the deal doesn't get done, who knows what's going to happen? And I'm not going to change my tune. I've said that it'd be a very good signing for Chelsea. He'll put balls in the back of the net. I think the same thing if he joined Manchester United. But I do still think Chelsea are the front runners. I do still feel that will get resolved from their point of view. You had Anthony, you had Aubameyang, 2 Fofana with Cucurella, Koulibaly, and Raheem Sterling. And it's a very good summer. For it to have been a world-class summer, I think people would have wanted that DM in terms of holes being fitted. But the club's also spent millions of pounds on young players. And I think Fofana and Anthony would come into that category, players for the future as well. So this club is kind of going about their business very differently. And maybe it's going a little bit unnoticed by rivals. It's certainly going unnoticed by some of the Chelsea fans I speak to. But the type of player they're looking at is very interesting indeed. But look, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on this. Wesley Fofana to Chelsea, a done deal, a record fee has been agreed. Aubameyang next. I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Take care. Goodbye.